Okay, I think I got it. Okay, so we're gonna talk today about some painting techniques for you guys. Basically, we want to create something that looks kind of like that, like a really, really dark red. So I'm gonna show you today how to get there by using a color complement, by using the opposite, which is what? What's the opposite of red on the color wheel? Green. And then, can you guys see some of the shadows in the pear? Created using purple. And purple is kind of a split complement of this. This is a nice sort of like lime green or yellow green, and that's a split complement, or blue purple is a complement to that color. So it's kind of using, I always say, a color complement or a split complement, depending on what you think. And then the background, if you notice, has a little bit of that mixed feeling to it. Fill in some of the sky first, but I want to actually desaturate some of those blues that I have going on. So I'm gonna desaturate some of those blues by adding just a little bit of orange. So I've got some blue there, and I'm adding just a little bit of this orange color, which is gonna make it, then I can just use the water to kind of spread it out there. When you do the bigger areas, or when you're starting, you want to start out with a base coat and actually use a bigger brush. So I'm using this bigger brush. So another thing I can do to give it a little bit of texture is I can kind of dab it like that. And do you guys see how that creates a really cool effect for the sky? Yeah? No? Yes, no? Nathan's shaking his head. Yes, no? Okay. Then I can come in if I want to add some detail, like around the clouds, and I want to go with the darker blue, let's say. It's going to blend a lot more with what I already have. Now I think this side's getting a little too bright, so I'm going to bring in some of that sort of like darker. Oh, that got too green. So maybe bring in a little purple instead, because that's a nice darker color, that blue, right? Now we're starting to get this stormy look. Now is I'm gonna come in here, and I know that the pear generally is going to be kind of like I'm going to do kind of like a light apple green color, and so you're going to want a lot of water for that, because you're just going to kind of give it just a little bit of color here. Here I might want to try to leave a little bit of that white for a highlight. I'm going to go with one of the Pink Lady style apples, so kind of an orangey color. So I'm going to mix, I have a little bit of my darker red, a little bit of my regular red, and a little bit of my yellow. So I have a neutral orange, not like a bright orange. So that would be, bright orange would be like that, right? Okay, so I'm adding a little bit of a purple or a blue to make it more like this neutral orange. A little bit, even more, with the water. Okay. I really want to go, it's a little too yellow for me, but that's fine. I'm not too worried about it, because all I've got to do is just come back in here and paint right on top of it with just a little more red. And I'm using water just to thin that out. And I want to leave a highlight on this guy too. And I don't mind so much that there's just kind of the mixing of colors. I'm actually trying to do a little bit of that on purpose. Some of the darker colors. So over here, I've got kind of a darker, like a turquoisey green type going on. What I can do is I can do a couple different things. I can actually paint straight onto the apple where I want the shadows to be. Right? Who's freaking out? Oh my God, you're ruining it, Miss Anderson. Anyone? Anyone? Yes? Okay, thank you for your honesty. So I'm putting the little shadow right there, right? And this is going to be my shadow side. You can always grab a picture and look at a picture. Okay, and now to blend this in, what I'm going to do, actually, you know what, before I even blend it, I'm just going to add a little bit of extra shadow. I'm just going to go for it. This is my practice one, right? So I'm mixing right on the page. Sometimes you have to get a little paint off your brush. Now it's starting to get happy, right? Yeah? Who's still doubtful? Raise your hand. It's okay, be honest. Okay, I like it. So now I can take my detail brush and start to spread out out a lot more, probably on this end, like a red orange right now. And then as this dries, I can keep coming over it. If I like to leave a little bit of the green in there. I think it looks better when you're done. But if you don't love the idea of having it that opposite color, now I like how this pure red's coming out because it's blending with the other colors. And so it looks a lot nicer to me. Okay, leave that little tiny highlight right there. Okay, so that's our apple. Got a lot of depth and dimensionality to it. So now let's come to our pear. Now this pear is almost totally dry. In fact, let's touch it a little bit. Yeah, it's damp, just a little, but it's almost totally dry. So one of the best colors to use for any kind of shadow is a purple. So I'm gonna get a nice blue purple going here. Okay, and I could actually desaturate it just a little bit with the orange or green, anything that's across it from the color wheel. So orange, green, a little yellow. That's way too desaturated. One thing I want to point out too is your brush should only have paint on about half of the brush. It should not be up to here. And you shouldn't be pressing it down like that and going back and forth. You always want to use the tip of your brush, like that. So the tip of your brush, like that, like that. Okay, so let's put some of our purple in here. And as I'm blending it with the purple, it starts to create a darker color. I used a little bit more of a red purple, but now I think I'm liking the blue purple a little bit better because I think it goes with the green. So all of the artists to study have kind of this style of really shading their image. Did you guys notice that? Yeah? So I want you to practice that style on these. Then you can come and see this part up here. If you want to, you can come and get like, that's when you do your detail. Liking some of these little lighter notes, and I can just come, and this is what's called glazing. I can kind of glaze right over the top of it. If I want to come in and make that darker, I can. Glazing. One light color wash, leave your white highlight. Number 2, desaturated. Use the opposite color on the color wheel to desaturate in your shadows. Number 3, mix in your lights. Number 4, work your midtones. Number 5, let it dry. And number 6, add in your detail once it is dry and or glaze on top. You want to be careful not to overwork in that last step, okay?